Welcome back, everybody, to episode 19 of the Jader and Kyle Show. We've been chugging along here, guys. Been really good episodes these past couple of weeks, so thank you all for tuning in and joining us. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jader. Jader, what's going on, man?
What up, man? Exhausted. We're doing an 11 o'clock show tonight, man. But you know what? We're committed. We're here, and we have a great one for you guys tonight. So I'm super hyped to talk about tonight. How was your week so far, Kyle?
Bro, my week's been up and down. I got a lot of screeners. My review for Project Power is going to be out tomorrow, and then I got a couple more coming. So I don't know when the bar was off to check on that. But
reviews, what are those?
Yeah, it's been a while, right? Well, that's the news that just came and says AMC is going to be reopening within the next week and a half or so. So that's
some news that we got to talk about. But yeah, man, week has been. It feels like my week is never ending. Like I feel like it's already Friday and it's only Wednesday.
I know.
You know?
It's super weird.
It's been, dude. It's super weird to be recording, but it's all good. Again, we're having a late show tonight because of our special guests that we have going on. I don't know. You want to just introduce him, man?
Let's do it. So this is gonna be a fun guest. You guys might know him from the Schmodown or the Schmoes Know, SEN, all this stuff. He's a young, up-and-coming filmmaker. Here he is, Mr. RB3. RB3, welcome, man. It's so good to have you on the show.
Hey, it was good. Thank y'all for having me, man. Thank y'all for being accommodating, man. And I gotta apologize on air to you, Jader. I did not mean to call you Jasper that one time. That's my bad.
So you know that's part of my notes actually. I was actually gonna ask what was good with that, man. I thought we had something, bro.
We do have something. We always got something, man. We always got something.
But yeah, no, it's funny, man, because now the chat room doesn't stop, dude. Everyone's like, whenever there's a match or I'm watching SEN or something, I like to say what's up to the people and all that, and everybody's like, Jasper's in the house. I'm like, oh my god, this stigma, it's gonna be forever. I'm like, god damn you, RB3. But yeah, dude, yeah. But no, man, it's cool, man. I get it. Don't even worry about it, dude. Hey. It was great. It was a great episode. But that for me was a highlight. And the thing was that I really wasn't watching it right there and then because I was doing, it was my birthday, right. So I was out with my kids and all that. And then I had like multiple people message me through Facebook, like fans and whatnot, And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I jumped on and somebody gave me the actual, timestamp on it. And I went, I'm like, bro, this is fucking hilarious, man. I wish I would have seen it live because I definitely would have like thrown in a StreamYard and we're like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, my bad. Bro, it's literally for one, I'm terrible at names in general. I'm terrible at names, terrible at pronouncing names. And for two, like SEN, like, even though it's at 10 o'clock, I usually got to wake up kind of earlier to like set up streams and like test things and like all that kind of stuff. So like I was up like super early. It was a late night before and I just totally slipped on your name, man. But thank you again for being dope and, playing along with it. I'm sure if it was somebody else, some beef probably would have started, but
nah, bro, no, not at all, man. It's all
friendly ghost. That's your nickname now.
Yeah.
So RB3, man, I gotta say we've never met each other in person before, but we have a lot in common. We both just graduated film school. We both have made short films, and most of all, we're both Lakers fans.
Yes, sir.
I love the Lakers, man. I've been watching them ever. 2008 was my first year watching them. The Kobe Bryant years. This past year was tough, or this year right here was tough with everything that happened at the beginning of the year. But man. It's up and down here in the bubble for our Lakers right now. What's going on?
We're not looking too good in the bubble. I think, honestly, in the beginning, it looked like load management, but, they did get that win the other night. I personally, I guess they might have just given up. They already clinched the number one spot. So they chilling on that front. They're not playing for standings anymore. So I'm kind of cool with them taking it easy right now. Now, when it comes to playoff time, that's a different situation. But I will say one thing, though. There's nothing I have enjoyed seeing more than seeing this miraculous Phoenix Suns come back. I've never seen nothing like this before in my entire NBA fandom. A team that was so far behind. Literally, I think they're in the 11th seeding before the bubble started. Oh, yeah. Now they're right knocking at the door at the AFC to get into the playoffs. And, obviously my boy Ace Andres, biggest Suns fan I know. Me, the biggest Lakers fan I know. Well, how can this not be one of the best moments right now? So it's exciting.
It's really a testament to how well Adam Silver has handled this league, because like look at all these other leagues are a mess right now, but the NBA somehow figured it out with this bubble, and now we're getting great playoff matchups. I'm scared though for Portland, because I feel like we're gonna get Portland in the first round, and boy,
did you catch that game yesterday?
Yeah, that's rough. That's what gets scary. But all the games when they're working and they're all playing together and they're all doing good, it comes out nice. And what was it? Kyle Kuzma had 22. Anthony Davis had 29. LeBron had 25. So that's a pretty good, people, they're playing pretty good out there,
We're holding on. We're gonna see. But RB, I want to talk about the film industry too, man. What's going on? So it hit when I was graduating film school. The coronavirus hit, which is just the worst time to graduate film school. Yeah. My last day of shooting my last film of the semester was the day when the school got shut down. All right, turn in everything, and you're never coming back to the campus from here on out. You can finish editing, but you're not going to come back to the campus. And it sucks, man, because you get out of college and you're ready to go move somewhere, get ready, you have a job lined up, and then now there's no film industry right now. It's kind of on pause. So like, what's your views on that? How do you feel about where the film industry is going right now?
Where's it going right now? I mean, it's a little tough, right? Because we've been seeing productions close down. We've been seeing them in other countries start to open back up. I mean, that's probably where it's going to have to be for a minute. We might have to see filming happening in other countries. Yeah. We might have to see people, I know The Mandalorian did a whole reinvention in the way we think about like VFX and like in studio shooting with that volume setup that they have. So maybe that will be another alternative, where it's not just big locations, it's just inside and, and inside of his kind of bubble room-ish kind of thing. But it's weird, man. This is a weird time, especially for you just coming out of film school. I graduated about a year ago, and fortunately, like I live in LA, so there's a little bit of it's a little bit easier to access, work opportunities and stuff like that. But even then, it's almost inaccessible too. Like pre shutdown, just because it's so crowded and there's so many people trying to do it. So yeah, this COVID thing kind of exacerbated the struggle a little bit. But I do think that if anything, post COVID, I think there's going to be a big push for more content. There's going to be a big push for like more production. Oh, yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be picking up filming again, which I hope, people like you and me and other people can get hired for. So
yeah, we need opportunities, and it kind of sucks like how everything lined up. But just right now, I've used this time to catch up on so many old movies, because if we want to be directors, we got to be well versed with everything that's going on here. I feel like that's very important. But talk to me about some of the productions you've made, RB3. I know you had that of the Movie Pass kind of spoof Flick Ticks, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about the process of making that, man.
Man, that was fun. I absolutely enjoyed the process of making that movie. I did it with one of my best friends, Cade Hughesby. He co-wrote the short with me, and yeah, I had Movie Pass. I was a big Movie Pass fan, and seeing this demise like happen in real time, it was amazing. I've never seen like a business kind of fall on its face that hard before, so much so, and so publicly too. So it was like, yeah, let me just write this little sketch out as like a thing, and then we started like playing with it a little bit more and more and having a little more fun with it. And then we asked my boy Ken Knapsack to be involved and play our main character. And when he said yes, we sped it. We kind of like fast tracked it, like we got it going, and we filmed it all at USC. So yeah, it was a really, really fun time, really, really great time. And I appreciate that experience so much, because it was one of the first times I had did a short film that was not just me filming with a bunch of friends, like in my apartment or whatever. It was, and even though we did film in my apartment for a couple of scenes, but it was a little bit more of like, oh, we have more people, more talent, like we have things going, and we had like more of a fun kind of release for it. So it was really cool.
Jader, have you had a chance to see it yet?
No, I haven't, bro. I would be
Your
lying.
manager's in it. What are you doing?
I know, man.
Yeah,
There's so many, you know how many movies I need to watch right now?
Yeah, focus on that. You got to focus on that. You got to focus on that for sure. But I do
So,
want to.
I do want to hear. I do want to hear quickly about the Netflix film that you want to have made.
Oh my! yeah. We so last week on First Cut Live, we made pitches for like what a Netflix, their next Harry Potter, next Star Wars. I said let's just go back to the OG, man, the Bible, the BCU, as I like to call it. You know what I mean? You got all kinds of you get a Noah cinematic universe. You get a Jesus story, and it all with some revelation.
How you lost that pose beyond me, dude.
I don't know how I lost
it. Beyond me, man. That was amazing. I was dying when I read that shit. I was like, hell yeah, I would see that, man.
That's an incredible idea because you have a built-in audience.
I grew up Catholic, so seeing all that, like growing up with the Bible and all that, I was like, holy shit, man. That it's nuts, man. There's some crazy shit that goes down in there, So
yeah,
you can definitely make that work, bro. It's so great.
Bible, interesting book right there.
yeah. Best-selling book of all time. Best-selling book of all time. There you go.
So, RB, well, Jader, you want to talk to him first about music. There was an album that you shared with RB.
Talk to me about it, man. Give it to me. Give it to me, bro.
Yeah, man. Jader. Okay, so Run the Jewels 4 came out, right? And it was right when quarantine had started. So I was like a little, I was still like kind of like in that warriorful. And it wasn't like right when quarantine started. It was a little bit after it.
It was during when all the riots and everything was going down. It was honestly it was crazy because they had scheduled that album to come out during that time regardless.
Yeah.
But everything went down, and it was like the perfect time to drop that album. And in fact, they dropped it for free.
Yeah,
and that's incredible for me.
So when it first came out, I was still in, I was feeling whatever kind of ways. So I didn't really get a chance to like listen to it and consume it and fully dig into it, right? But yeah, about a couple weeks later, I went back. And Jader, you messaged me, and I
messaged him. We were trying to get him on the show for during the whole shit that went down.
Yeah,
and we were gonna do the right thing. I wanted to have you and Janine on, but and Winston. To be honest, I wanted to have all three of you. Just let's just talk about this bullshit. Because we're all feel the same way.
Right.
And I just love the whole movement, everything that you, Jay Washington, Winston, everything. Kudos to you guys for just, standing your ground and doing what you needed to do. And, much love and respect to everybody.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
So whatever, I messaged him. He didn't see the message on time. We had already done the show. And then that was the CD, which still is on heavy rotation for me. But it was the album that it was just when it dropped. And I'm a big Run the Jewels fan. When it dropped, I actually didn't even listen to it because I was at work until I got out and I was hearing it. RB3 got back to me that day and he's like, no, I haven't checked it out. I'm like, you have to listen to this album because they're just standing their ground. It's just again, it was just the perfect time to drop it. So I wanted to hear what you thought on it because I know you finally heard it. So walk me through that,
Well, I mean, it's just to me, it's one of those albums that perfect timing, perfectly relevant. And I'm a big fan of Run the Jewels from the first album, but I think this is truly like, and I guess it's more like recency biased or whatever, but I feel like this is their most timely, their most potent and most present work.
Oh, I can get behind that.
Just in terms of like what it's talking about, these ideas of like, like this repetition that we're seeing like throughout the country, right? Like, and they addressed that in like a number of the songs like throughout the album. I don't know, Jader. I don't know what were some of your favorite songs, but let me pull up.
Walking on Snow is probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how in that song he talks about, he I don't know it verbatim, but he says something along the lines of the cops choke out a man like me until my voice goes from shriek to whisper. I say I can't breathe. He's talking about Eric Garner at the time and George Floyd. It just happened. The same thing had just happened to George Floyd. So for me, it's crazy how they're talking. And Run the Jewels 3 is the same way. It's about about fighting the racist police officers and all that. And it it sucked. It's crazy how they're talking about Eric Garner at the time, released it on the time when George Floyd dies. So for me, it's like the situation doesn't change. It's remained the same. There has been no change. There's going to be 1 or 2 months where people are, and then it just goes back to normal and it fucking blows. I wouldn't tell you, but we can curse on this show, bro. We're good to go.
Oh, cool.
But it does. It fucking sucks that we're in a situation like this. And for me, I don't think there's going to be a better hip hop album this year, and I've been listening. I'm kind of biased when it comes to hip hop. As you can see, I'm wearing my Wu-Tang shirt. I'm more old school when it comes to my hip hop. I don't listen to a lot of new guys. I'm kind of, if your name has Lil or Da in front of you, I'm probably not going to listen to you just because, and it sucks. It sucks to say that. But you know what? I kind of got shut. They shut me up probably about a month ago. My little brother's, he's 17. And he's very into the newer hip hop. So for me, sorry, my Siri turned on the MacBook. All right. So for me, the greats are, Pac, Big, Meth, MJ, Nas, that's just Rakim, that's just KRS. That's who I grew up with. My little brother is very into, the Uzi Verts, and he listens to, your Verts and your Migos and all that shit. And don't get me wrong, they have some joints, man. There's some joints where I'm like, all right, I can't help it. You're not saying shit, but I like it. It's catchy.
Jader, I find it funny that you hate the Lil so much that you left it out of his name, just called him Uzi Vert.
Uzi Vert, man. I won't. I refuse. But let me tell you where my brother shut me up. My little brother lives in Texas, right? So I'm trying to, obviously, when he's a kid, I'm showing him the music that I like, and I'm trying to mold him into what I like. So I remember one time he's listening to Yachty, Lil Yachty. See, I didn't even say Lil. There it goes again. But he's listening to Yachty and I'm listening to him, and everybody thinks that he's great. And I'm like, dude, it's not for me. Maybe I'm old, man. Maybe it's just not for me. And he's like, bro, this guy's the truth, this and that, whatever. So my little brother, every time he comes down, for me, it's like, I try to spend as much time as I do with him. Cause again, I'm 17 years older than my little brother, but I always seen him like my first son. Right. So I'm always like interested in what's going on. And again, I'm at the end of everything, I'm not his dad, I'm his brother. So we have music in common. We like sports. He's getting to the stage about girls, so he's asking me questions and things like that, But as soon as we picked him up from the airport, the first thing he said as soon as I sit down is, hey, have you listened to Pop Smoke? And I'm like, with a name that fucking stupid, I'm not gonna listen to him, dude. I'm sorry. Like, what the hell is Pop Smoke? Fast forward to 3 days later, I'm getting my hair cut at the barbershop, and I take my brother with me, and the barbershop is playing a song that I've never heard before. And I'm just like feeling it. I'm just like, damn, this stumps. I'm like, what is this? And my barber's like, Pop Smoke. My little brother just kind of like looked at me like, and he was like, oh, you like it, right? And I'm like, damn, dude, this guy's, he's the shit. And then I learned that I listened to the album. I'm like, bro, I can't wait. I'm like, if this guy's first project is this good, or first like big project, because he's released mixtapes, and I'm like, I can't wait to see what he does. Not knowing that the guy got killed in February, when I found out about his death, I'm like, that's crazy. But because of Pop Smoke's album, there's Lil Baby, right?
Yeah.
And bro, he's ill, man.
Little baby snaps, and he just put out that Conscious song pretty recently too. This
super dope.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, damn, I can't see. This is what I like. I like when they're talking about something, because they're talking about. I like conscious hip hop. So, anyways, back to Run the Jewels, man. I just feel like the duo for me, man, Killer Mike and LP, man. LP with the production has been disgusting. Yeah. I don't think they have a bad album. There's not a single album for me that I can be like, oh, it's okay. Every single album for me has gotten better, with the exception of 3, which I really did like Run the Jewels 3, but I didn't think it was better than 2. Yeah. 4 for me it's right up there with Run the Jewels 2, But I loved seeing the vocals of because as much as I am a hip hop fan, believe it or not, I'm more of a metal fan. I like metal music more than I like hip hop. As much as I love hip hop, so seeing Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine on a track with Pharrell and Run the Jewels, man, that for me. So I love Just Walking on Snow, Pulling the Pin. It's just, I like so many songs on this album, man. But it's if you guys haven't listened to it, if you guys are hip hop heads, or even knowing what's going on, just this truth that they're speaking, it's just an album that you definitely need to check out.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that one song they got on there with 2 Chainz, Out of Sight. That's called would it have the little sample in there too? That's absolutely dope. Yeah, so all around. Definitely check out that album.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I haven't heard it.
What about you, Kyle?
I've been listening to Rolling Stone and Hall & Oates.
You know what's funny though? Jader? We're having this show now. And you know who just texted me about Run the Jewels 4 just a couple days ago?
Who?
Brett Sheridan. Brett Sheridan is obsessed with Run the Jewels. He loves
you put him down?
I didn't think he'd want to talk about Run the Jewels with me, but he just randomly texted me. He's like, "Oh man, I'm into this." Like, I'm like, "What?" Wow. And he's like, "Yo, like I love Run the Jewels," and he's like, "I would want this vinyl set or whatever." Yeah.
Shout out to Brett, man. He's
the last person I'd expect to be.
Seriously, I thought you were going to tell me Goddard, Winston, somebody. Yeah. I didn't even think you were going to say Brett at all, man. That is dope, man. He's on game. That's good.
Yeah.
They don't call him Wiggly for nothing.
There you go.
So RB3. So when we reached out to you, man, Jader asked you to give you a couple movies that you wanted to talk about that the audience could vote on. And when he sent me the list of the movies you sent me, I said, we're doing Social Network because
we even put it on a poll, man. We put this movie on how many polls already?
This is the third one it would have been on.
We're wanting to talk about this film. And for some reason, some other movie just like beats it on the poll. And we're like, there was I think 1 or 2 polls that I got like 0 votes. Like
the fucking Fugitive beat it, man. The Fugitive. What the hell?
So when I gave him the list, he's like, "We're talking Social Network, man," because that's originally the only movie he had given me, and I'm like, "Hey, RB3 only sent me Social Network," and he was like, "Oh, okay," and then I'm like, "Well, let me see if he wants to do a list or whatever." And you send me the list, and then he's like, "No, fuck that, we're doing Social Network, man."
If we needed a reason to do it in RB3, man, I think we're all on the same page here. This is the best, or one of the best movies, at least, of the 21st century. It is, in my definition, a perfect film because it gets better and better with every watch. It's gotten more relevant since 2010 when it came out, and it only holds that place so much every single time I watch it. But RB3, what was the reason why you put this on the poll?
Well, I mean, for me personally, this is one of my favorite movies too. To this day, I still remember when I first saw this movie on October 2nd, 2010 at the 6 p.m. screening at AMC Del Amo 16 in Torrance, California. That's right. That's 10 years ago. And I remember seeing this movie to that day. I used to be a movie hop kid. So every time like I saw a movie, it was always like 3 or 4 movies in the same day. So I remember that day before, and I think the context is a little important, right? Before seeing that movie, I saw in the morning. I saw The Legends of Gahul, the Zack Snyder movie, the animated Owl movie or whatever, which I didn't really like. And then after that, I saw the Clint Eastwood movie with Matt Damon, where they're like in a tsunami. I can't remember the name off top of my head. Right,
Jader, you got to get this.
That's a scroll down question. Listen to me. Bro.
Yeah. 2010, Clint Eastwood. Matt Damon is starring in it. I can't remember off the top of my head though.
Okay, but yeah, go on RB3.
What'd you say it was, Kyle? My bad.
Promised Land, is that it?
I don't think so.
No, that's a Cameron Crowe one. I can't remember.
No.
But anyway, that movie put me to sleep. So I went into the Social Network, and that movie, when the Social Network.
Wait. Fuck. See, I would have ran out of my 15 seconds, but it would have got me. It's Hereafter. That's what it is.
Hereafter.
Yeah.
That's it.
What it is. It's Hereafter.
So Legends of Gahul, Hereafter. Not that bad of a movie, but not that great. Movie put me to sleep. So I'm going into the Social Network. my expectations are like on the floor. But I knew it had like a 99% Rotten Tomatoes or something at that point. And, you know, the director and the writer and had all this acclaim. So I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to see it. Saw it, sat right in the middle seat in a packed out house full of people. And, you know, it was just a mind-opening experience for me through and through. Just from that opening scene, just, you know, that 10-minute scene of them talking at the bar. And you just get like the perfect character introduction to who Jesse Eisenberg's rendition of like Mark Zuckerberg is. And then you go into that long sequence where it's like just the music and him walking alone through the Harvard campus, and you see how lonely this dude is. And just the whole story of like friendship versus business. How much bitterness can lead to decision making. It's a lot of really, really interesting stuff that I thought the movie was broaching on, and I was a really big fan of. So it was really, really great stuff.
It's also like the backstabbing and betrayal. Like on the surface, you see it as how a man became super successful by just being ruthless and being strictly about business and how he's the smartest person in the room. But then over every repeat viewing, you notice other things like, man, that Phoenix Club thing that Eduardo gets into really bothers Eisenberg the entire time. I noticed them in this time when I watched it. The score, not when he's walking through the campus, but when he's creating face mash, that bum, bum. Oh my gosh. It's like his heart pounding as he's creating this thing that's gonna change Harvard forever. So I mean, Jader, I want to hear your thoughts, man. What sticks out to you about The Social Network?
Well, same thing, man. I'm just gonna give you a little quick background. I obviously big movie fans over here, so I used to live in the theater as well. And I remember I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't really in the know like I am now. Like now I'm on top of news and all that stuff. And obviously we're in Miami, you know, we review and, you know, we get early screenings and we, you know, press and all that shit. I remember sitting in the theater, packed house. I forgot what movie I was watching, where I saw the trailer to Social Network and it was playing Creep, but it wasn't the Radiohead version. It was a different version of the Radiohead song. And
I remember that trailer.
That got me. It just got me. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And, you know, Eisenberg, you know, he was already doing his thing, but he wasn't like Jesse Eisenberg yet. So I was just like, what the hell is it? And you see Justin Timberlake and, you know, and Andrew Garfield even. I
wasn't a star yet at the time.
Yeah, at all. So I'm like, all right. What got to me, honestly, was Fincher's name. When I saw Fincher's name, I'm like, oh, this shit's going to be good. And the trailer alone, I was like, this is going to be amazing. I did not see this in the theater, and it's one of my regrets because I didn't see it in the theater. I ended up watching it. And funny enough, I didn't even get the buzz. I saw that it had good ratings as well, but I didn't hear even a buzz or anything like that. It wasn't until one of my best friends that saw it once it was out on Blu-ray. He bought it and he was like, dude, have you seen Social Network? And I was like, no. He's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And I was like, no way, man. And then so that I'd already had a little bit of hype from him, even though him and I don't really see eye to eye with film. So I'm like, oh, maybe for you, dude, I don't know. And long story short, I didn't even end up borrowing it or rent. I bought it because I'm like, it has to be good. So I went to Best Buy and I bought the film, popped it in. And it blew me away. Same thing, man. That opening scene alone, I am a sucker for dialogue, right? So for me, you can have no action in the movie or whatever, but if you have great conversation in the movie, you have me, right? The first 10 minutes of that movie where he's just going at 100 miles an hour. She's trying to keep up with the conversation. He's like super condescending with her. Like,
well, the thing is, like, I've had those discussions before where you're trying to talk to someone, you answer their question, and they're talking about another subject suddenly. And I could feel her pain of trying to hold on and trying to listen to what he's saying. And finally, you just get so frustrated. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then, like you said, Jader, the condescending part where you could see him just slowly tearing her down. Well, you go to BU. What do you need to study?
Yeah, he goes, what do you need to study? She goes, why do you keep saying I don't need to study? She goes, you go to BU. Like, I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You're terrible. You're fucking mean, you know? And once I get in, I'll get you in because you're never going to meet people like that because you go to BU. Like that shit. You're like, what the fuck, man? What are you doing? But that, and I'm just gonna go ahead and super fast forward. But I think Andrew Garfield had the biggest snub ever.
Absolutely.
How he didn't it's beyond me. It's beyond me. And I've said this on my other shows and all that stuff. And it's just something that I just finished watching the film 40 minutes ago. Right. and again, I've seen it so many times, and I could have done the review without watching the film, but I'm like, let me just, get in the mood, get in the feel for it or whatever. And every time that I see this movie, I'm like, why didn't this man win? It is beyond me, because that will forever be one of my favorite performances of him. I don't know if you want to jump in the comments very quick, Kyle, because we have been ignoring our
as always.
As always, man. And we're promise you we're gonna work on that. I've been keeping an eye on it, but there you go.
Well, yeah, so let's get to Gilberto. I saw in the chat. He said he first saw it back at the Social Network back in 2011 on cable, and he's rewatched it so many times since then. He says the one thing I've always loved about Social Network is the score. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross did amazing, absolutely. And then this is Timberlake's best performance. We're going to get into that because
we'll get all into that.
Yeah, this is going to come into the categories. And then Steve saying, I don't know what Steve meant here by saying major jealousy there, and look in his face and sarcasm while discussing it. I don't know what he's referring to with that comment.
No idea.
Steve, it must happen to you a lot, Kyle. Yeah. When I talk to you, Steve, you don't you don't listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I
Sabrina Ramirez gave us a shout out. One of my favorite films of the last decade. Looking forward to this discussion. And then we got Gil talking about the basketball. Kuzma with the clutch shot. Booker the bubble MVP so far.
TJ Warren.
There you go, man. All right, sorry guys.
But yeah, let's get back into this. Let's talk about how relevant this movie is. So when 2010's coming around, Facebook got started back in 2003. Around 2008-9, I remember the boom when it happened, when suddenly everybody's having Facebook and they're saying Facebook me, like they refer to in this film when they campuses saying Facebook me. That's a major thing that happened all across the country and apparently all across the world. So Facebook was major at this time. It was bigger than Twitter. It's bigger than MySpace. Because remember, MySpace was a thing at the time too. So Facebook is taking over the world. Then this movie comes out about the man who made Facebook and how he was so ruthless in getting to it. It really hits hard about how trying to make it in this world is such a cutthroat, tough business. But now here we are 10 years later, and you've seen everything that's happened over these past 10 years of, Facebook refusing, letting fake news out there all the time, refusing to monitor that stuff, letting Russia do some stuff in there. RB3, man, I want to get your kind of opinion on this. How do you see the relevance of the Social Network today as compared to when it came out?
Yeah, I mean, today, to me, when I think of the Social Network, especially like when you look at it, when you talk about today's context, right, and like the power of Facebook, right, like how you're even streaming the show like through Facebook, how like Facebook is the biggest social media, and number two with Instagram, and how they have had numerous cases of like privacy violation and all that kind of stuff. And you see like the actions of the real Mark Zuckerberg in real life and how he kind of like has kind of like this whole like, I don't know if I should, have a hands-on approach with certain things. And he has to answer all these questions to Congress. And, he has this he ends up living up to the bad guy kind of persona that this movie kind of paints him as to begin with. So it's relevant in the sense that like we're still living in the era that is depicting like in this movie. Like we're still currently in that bubble that was being created at the onset of this movie, on top of how much more we're kind of familiarized and some will say desensitized to actual social experiences. And I think that's the biggest, and I think that's a big part of it too. I think we think about how much of especially during quarantine, how many friends do you like actually talk to in real life? How many friends do you actually have? Like as compared to how many friends you have via social media?
Right.
Because, in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, you could have 500 million friends, but still be lonely and still have nobody around you. So I think that's ultimately how it's still relevant today, how we could take that and relate it to all of our own selves.
Right. Maybe Jader, do you have any comment on the relevance?
He nailed it on there. To be honest, to be completely honest with you, but one of the lines that I've heard it a million times, but today, and I guess nowadays with the quarantine and everything, when Sean Parker is going crazy, and then he starts saying, he goes, "We're soon going to be living in the internet," right before the cops jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, nailed it. And it's literally how look at the way how we're not right now due to COVID, obviously, how we have to keep the distance and do this, and we're doing literally everything online.
Right.
We are using Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff to get our voices out there, man. So it's crazy how many years, and then look, it's still, I know a lot of people don't like using Facebook. It's the social media that I use the most, and then everything that was cool, like you had that what's that dating shit that they mentioned in the thing, Facebook or whatever. Yeah, that. Then you had MySpace come out, and everything crashes after a while. You sell it or whatever, it's MySpace is still around if you log in, but that's as far as it goes. Facebook for me is standing the test of time. It's been how long since I've had this since probably 2008 or 2009. When it blew up, and it's been existing from way before that. I just remembered that before it was like very exclusive to certain, and then I remember when it first started hitting FIU and all that stuff, like the university here and all that. It's just bizarre how fast and how quick this thing spread, but the relevancy is, look how big it blew up and how we literally depend on it. And there's oh man, Dakota Johnson's little scene that she's in there, a quick little cameo that she's in, where she's like, "Oh, it's crazy. I just got it like 2 weeks." She goes, "It's highly addictive." Because I remember when I first got Facebook, man, I was, at the end when he's refreshing to see if she accepted the friend request, I was like that on Facebook, where I was like, "Who's my friend now? Who's my friend now? Who am I? How many likes did I get?" It's nuts how addicting it was, man. So they nailed it, dude. Absolutely.
I also want to touch on Zuckerberg here a little bit more too, how he's portrayed in this film, as he knows he's the smartest guy in the room, and he looks down upon everybody. Every single person. He's willing to turn his back on anybody in order to keep moving up. Like even at the beginning, when he creates Face Mash and crashes the Harvard system, and then they're at that board meeting right after, and he apologizes, but he says, "I do think I also deserve some recognition." And the guy,
I love that.
About. He's like, "I discovered, I showed some pretty major flaws in your system here." Like just the arrogance that he comes out. He's like, "I got 6 months academic probation, whatever." He kind of walks out, and then there's another moment, a tiny detail I noticed this time watching it, just to show how arrogant he is. And it's the scene where they're reading the emails between the Winklevosses and Mark Zuckerberg going back and forth. And the entire time you hear Zuckerberg jotting down notes. And then he lifts up his paper at one point, and it's just a bunch of pictures. Like, I know what you guys are talking about. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to show you how much I don't care by making pictures. And you don't notice it if you don't catch it with your eye real quick. And then he's also, the lawyer asked him, "Do I have your attention? Do you think I deserve your attention?" And he's like, "Minimum. Yep.
Minimum."
Oh, it's just so great.
I was watching it, and then kids are playing. Obviously, they're with their. I had to give them. I went to a quick Target run to get them toys and stuff. I'm like, just play, because they don't live with me, so they usually bring their toys over. But I picked them up from school today, and they had no toys, and I was just like, "Dad's got to watch this movie. Here you go. Pick whatever freaking toy you want. Just play with it." And I was watching it, and then my son's watching part of it, and he looks at me. He goes, "This movie's boring." I was like, "No, it's not." And he goes, "Why do you like this?" And I was like, "Oh my God, it's so good, dude." I'm like, you'll get it. You'll get it one day. I promise you, man. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Like I said, there's just so much in this film to love. I don't know if you want to go ahead and jump on the categories now.
Yeah, unless RB3, unless there's anything you want to say.
Anything else you want to jump on or anything like that? Anybody that we haven't mentioned yet? We're gonna mention a lot of characters now in a little bit, but whatever anything you want to touch on.
I think we touched on a lot of it already. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about relevancy, when we talk about all that, and just on the art level, it's so well made. I think they pretty much reinvented the red cameras in order to make them work and be smaller and be more compact for this movie. And it kind of ended up designing a new digital aesthetic that ended up permeating throughout cinema throughout. So past that point. So it's really, really groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, I read they used 2 of Steven Soderbergh's red cameras, which is nuts. Soderbergh's a huge camera guy. He loves experimenting with all that stuff. So he kind of pushed it. One thing that doesn't hold up, though, and I'll say this. During the title cards, when everything's coming up and he's walking through the Harvard campus, it says executive producer Kevin Spacey. And you're like, damn. He just has this single line. Like, oh, damn it. Why is he in there? That, and no, I want to bring up the one other thing that I think doesn't hold up. And it's the very last scene. It's when Rashida Jones says, "You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be." And I don't think that holds up because Mark Zuckerberg is an asshole. And kind of like a redeeming factor at the end. So I kind of want to ask you guys about it. How do you feel about that line now, 10 years later?
I'm with you, actually. The whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, you're a genius, but you are a fucking asshole. Steph left a little bit before the movie finished. She was watching it with me as well, and she's like, movies like this piss me off because she obviously feels bad for Eduardo, right? Yeah. I showed her not too long ago The Founder. She hadn't seen The Founder, and she hates situations where someone good or someone's idea or something just gets taken away from them from like corporate greed or greed. Just not even has to be corporate, just greed itself. But that's why when I told her, I'm like, I think this is one of the greatest movies ever. She's like, I highly disagree, but she doesn't see films in a technical aspect like we do, you know. For her, it's if a movie makes her feel good, makes her laugh, she'll put that over anything or you know. But she tells me, she goes, I feel so bad for his character that it makes me not, this movie's not enjoyable for me because I think he's such an asshole. And this movie probably gave him a little bit of, you know, like, oh, maybe he's not just such a bad guy. It was all business or whatever. And I highly disagree. The whole time I was like, and I said, I didn't really think about it like, oh, in my head, when she says that, I'm like, no, he's an asshole. It is what it is. It's like, you know, when you see, have you seen those memes? That's like, hey, sorry for being a bitch. I'm just a Leo. It's like, no, you're just a bitch. You know? So it's like that. And it's, you know, it's black and white. It is what it is. He ended up screwing and you know, one of the lines that I love is when he tells him in front of him, he goes, I was your only friend. I was the one that, I'm like, you ended up fucking him over. Yeah. That for me, like, I don't know, again, so I don't think, that line doesn't hold up. I don't think it ever did. I never thought of him as a, you know, great person ever. I think he's a genius. I think he's very, very smart. And he, again, he has reason to be the way that he is. Like, he usually will be probably the smartest guy in the room, you know, like, so I don't fault him for that. And it's like one of those, quoting Scarface, rooting for the bad guys. You know, so not that I'm rooting for him, but I'm not. You can't get mad at somebody for doing what they did and just doing it better because he definitely did it first, did it better. I don't think it says it. And we'll talk about it later. But
what do you think about
I'm about to say my favorite scene, so just go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think about that last line before we get into these categories?
I think that last line, like you said, is kind of like this redeeming thing, which I don't think necessarily holds up. I always just kind of read it as her trying to be nice to him, like she just trying to be the one person who's like nice to him, do the thing. But yeah, I mean, he isn't a nice dude. He is definitely a jokester, clown, you know, a backstabber, and you know, for sure. I think that line definitely does add like a redemptive light to him, but I think it's you're kind of back to realizing the reality of who this dude is in the very next moment when he's like you said, Jader, refreshing that Facebook page to like see if you know, he's still longing to try and be like a normal person, but you know, it just doesn't work. So first move on.
He hates those memes.
He actually gave you a shout out. I don't know if you want to put that shout out for RB3 very quick.
Yeah, Ferris loves you, RB3.
Hey, Ferris, thank you. Appreciate it.
There we go. All right, let's get into the categories here. First one that we always do, best scene. it's tough to choose in this film because this film kind of flies the entire time. Every scene works so well, and every time I rewatch it, I like one more and I like another one more, and it goes back and forth. I think it gets kind of easy though. There's an easy choice, but I want to start with you, man. What's your choice for best scene?
Best scene. Ooh, that comes down to a lot of scenes. To me personally, and this one is a little more like off kiltered, I guess. But for some reason, I've always loved the scene when Brenda Song's character finds out that Eduardo's going back to California or whatever, and she's like literally burning up his stuff like as he's on the phone with Eduardo. Like to me, that to me is one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie. Every time I rewatch that movie, I almost certainly go back to that particular scene because it's just funny to me.
Well, she also says stuff that you saw, throughout high school and stuff growing up, which is, why does your Facebook profile say single? That matter to people. Really, like, why is your relationship status like this? People really cared about that.
No, they really did. It got to the point where I had not single. I just didn't have anything. And then when you don't have anything, I even got the question like, well, why aren't you putting me out there? Who are you trying to hide? I'm like, dude, I just don't put that. Like, my shit's private. Don't matter, Exactly. But my favorite scene, actually, we already talked about it, man. And it's just that monologue between him and the lawyer. Where he's asking for the attention, and then he goes, and he tells him, you have the minimal attention, the rest of my attention. He's like, goes back to the offices where my colleagues and I are doing things that your clients can't even do or can't fathom or whatever. He's like, did I answer your condescending question? Like the way he just goes at him, bro. Every time I'm like pumping my fist, I'm like, God, you're an asshole, but stand your goddamn ground, Yeah. That for me is that I remember in the theater, I almost got up and cheered for that man, bro. Not in the theater, sorry, at home when I first saw that movie. So that for me, that's just your best scene? It's my favorite scene because of just the way that Jesse Eisenberg and him just like you can tell the lawyer's just trying to dig at him, and he was not fazed by it whatsoever. So it's between that, and I wrote another one down. And it's the right at the end when Eduardo goes to the offices and he finds out that he's basically out.
You better lawyer up, bitch, because I'm gonna come after you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the easy one then. I'm gonna go with the opening scene. I wasn't sure if either one of you are gonna mention it. I think the opening scene is one of the greatest opening scenes I've seen in any movie ever. Where Rooney Mara, which we'll probably get to in another category coming up eventually. Rooney Mara, man, she is hitting hard. She feels like just this innocent person who's stuck with this madman. Like I start wondering, how did they start the relationship in the first place? Like, how long have they been dating?
I swear I went there too. I'm like, how did she put up with this guy, bro? Like,
how did you get this far in the relationship? But anyways, her just slowly realizing that this guy doesn't care about me. He doesn't like me. He just has me in order just to have a status within himself, and he's just trying to use me. He also doesn't care at all. And that back and forth. One of the interesting details I found out about this film, David Fincher did 99 takes for that opening scene. This script was originally 160 pages, and they got it down to a movie that's over a little under 120 minutes. That's because he had to go faster and faster and faster to read the dialogue. That's why the dialogue's so quick back and forth. He believes that once you do your take so many times, you forget that you're acting and you're just going back and forth. And that's, you can kind of see it in this, where I don't know if he take 53 or take 27. We don't know where he left it at, but that must have been exhausting for both those guys. But Rooney Mara, I think that was her audition for the girl with the dragon tattoo right there.
Like, back and forth, like when did he cut? You get me? Did he do that whole 10-minute scene 99 times? That's crazy to me. That's bizarre.
Well, Fincher's actually legendary for that. That's one of his things is, excessive takes. And I guess Amanda Seyfried's already talked about it in press coming up for Mank, where she's going to be in Fincher's next film, that there's days where they would do 70 something takes of a scene, which, like, as an actor, that's putting you through the ringer right there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to best line. I think this was the toughest category out of everything we had in here because
There's one more category that was super tough for me, and I'll tell you what it is. But go ahead.
All right, so best line. I've got 2 from the opening scene, like I said right away. Dating you is like dating a stairmaster, and then I think the one that I'm gonna go with. Well, actually, we'll skip that one for a second. It's the exchange between the Winklevosses and their friend that helped kind of create Facebook. And they go, "What, you want to hire an IP lawyer to sue him?" And the guy goes, "No, I want to hire the Sopranos to beat the shit out of him." And Armie Hammer goes, "We can do that ourselves. I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of me." I think that's an incredible line right there. It just kind of gets brushed aside. But I'm gonna go with the one from the opening scene. "You're going to go through life thinking girls don't like you because you're a nerd, and I want you to know that's not true. It will be because you're an asshole." That's the theme of the film, because Zuckerberg thinks that people don't like him because he's super smart, and no, it's because he's an asshole this entire time, like we've been saying. Jader, let's go with you now, man. What's your pick for best line?
You said it already.
Oh,
you
really?
said it. Yeah, man. You better lawyer up, bitch, because I'm coming for the whole thing. That for me, man. That's exactly why. That's another one that you got a fist pump for, man. This movie has a lot of those moments, right? But for me, it's that, man. Just, imagine being in Eduardo's shoes and knowing that everything, that the money you put up, everything is being done because you made it happen. Well, obviously Zuckerberg's brain, but it was your cash, and then they're telling you, yo, you're out. Like, I don't even think I would be as cool as he was there, man, because I'd snap personally.
He smashed the laptop.
I'd snap. Yeah, no, I probably would have smashed it on his head. I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't get me wrong. I already told you. I used to have a very, very aggressive past, man. But I honestly, it's that, man. I would have been so pissed, and how condescending Sean Parker was, where he was like, "Oh, you're 19." Oh my god! But that scene for me, I don't know. It's on another level. That line, just the way he says it, I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude! That's what you got to do."
There's another one that kind of sticks in my mind too that I'll throw up before we get to RB3. It's the line that Timberlake gives to Eisenberg, that when they're kind of talking about their first exchange, saying, yeah, Facebook's cool right now. You want to keep it cool, and $1 million is cool, but you know what's even cooler? $1 billion. Yeah. RB3, what do you got here? What's your favorite line in this film?
Well, I'll probably say my favorite line. That's a great one. That $1 million line. Mine's, I guess, is maybe not as much of a line. It's more of a monologue. It's when Sean Parker and Mark Zuckerberg are talking to each other in the club, and Sean Parker tells the story about how a business dude. Let me find the exact
Victoria's Secret.
Exactly. And I literally had it pulled here, and then I scrolled up for a second and missed it. But it's this whole story of like a dude literally just wanting to buy, just wanting to get his wife a pair of pantyhose, and then not having, but still having, like, it's just opening up a small boutique store that ends up becoming a few more stores, and he sells the store for like $4 million. And then you think it's a happy ending, but then the dude ends up jumping off a bridge because it ends up being worth $500 million. Mm-hmm. I think that's such a really, really weird and fascinating moment. Just because, for one, and the scene itself is just funny because they're in like a strip club or whatever, while he's giving this story. And for two, I think it's indicative of like Sean's whole philosophy of like, yeah, make the most amount of money like while you can or whatever.
Exactly, because he had the whole Napster thing going on, and he even tells when he's talking to Dakota Johnson, she's like, "Oh, you're like a bazillionaire," and he goes, "I'm actually broke."
Yeah.
My favorite things. It's funny that you mentioned that scene because that scene really stood out to me today as well. Good. A lot of it's crazy that Justin Timberlake plays such a great asshole, right? Yes. You don't really see him as that. Like when he's acting in a movie, you don't really see him as an. You see some in Alpha Dog. He kind of has his moments here and there. But one of my favorite. It's crazy how he tells him this story. Zuckerberg's looking at him, and then he goes, "Do you still think about the girl?"
Yeah, because I was just about to bring that up.
All his mind is the girl, and then he goes,
"He's like, no."
Yeah, it's so great, man.
And then he's like, "I want you to move in with me." And then Timberlake gives that smirk, and he's like,
"Yeah, that's smirk. Like, I'm in."
Yeah, he knows he's doing. He said, like, he talks about his company Napster. He's like, it might not have been super successful, but I changed the entire music industry for the future here on out. And it's true, because now look where we are right now with the music industry right now. You have all these Apple Music and Spotify and all these things. Napster was the first one to really start that.
Yeah, you want to know what's crazy? If you want to like really dig deep into that, like before it was like, obviously, it's stealing music. Metallica, which is one of my favorite bands, were the first ones that were like, "Hey, fuck you! You're not doing this to us." People started hating Metallica because of Napster. But everything was like, you gotta buy our shit. Now for $9.99, you pay a membership. You have every album you want forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's crazy how it's changed and it's become that. Most of these bands are now, they get a cut, obviously, for streaming their music, but everything is now live music, and look where COVID's brought you for that.
Right. Exactly.
It's bizarre, man. Bizarre.
So, all right, so let's move on here. Casting what ifs. I got a couple of them in here. First big one right here. Andrew Garfield originally auditioned for Mark Zuckerberg, which they thought that would have been completely different, but then they found Heisenberg.
Wow.
And, it would have been a completely different movie. I'm glad they held on to him because he's
that's good.
I got another one here. Aziz Ansari auditioned for the role of Divya Narendra, who was the guy who was with
the guy with the twins.
Yeah, apparently he bombed that audition. Like, completely bombed, and he talks about it openly, how bad it was. And it's a good thing he didn't get the part, because the guy who got the part was actually really good in the role. Like, I want to hire Sopranos to beat this guy's ass. Like, I love that. Here's another great one. This one actually works really well. Shia LaBeouf turned down the role of Mark Zuckerberg. I think if any other actor can play Mark Zuckerberg, I think Shia LaBeouf might be the guy. I don't know.
I'm sorry, man. I haven't seen The Tax Collector, but I feel like he's one of the greater working actors now, man. I feel like that guy does not get enough like recognition. He's been doing indies and all that, but Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey were one of my favorite movies last year, man.
Yeah.
And here, when he worked with Air and Fury, he, for me, outshined everybody in that film. So that would have been an interesting take to be honest with you, man. Shia is the fucking man. He really is.
Yeah, he is.
RB, do you feel like that could work? Do you think Shia LaBeouf could have done it?
I could see it. I think Jesse Eisenberg kind of like blended into it so well. I kind of can't even imagine anybody else playing him. But I could totally see Shia going like full, like, just do it status for that. So I can see that.
What do we got here? We got, Jonathan Groff auditioned for the role of Sean Parker. I think that actually does work in retrospect, but just in terms, like, I also like looking back at this movie, every part's cast perfectly.
That's what I mean, like that, and that's one of the hard parts for me. And when we get to the category, I'll tell you. But
the Jonathan Groff thing is great. He's having a moment right now. After
he's with Frozen and Hamilton and all that shit. Yeah, dude.
He kind of steals Hamilton in moments. I love when King George comes out. That song's great. And then Alfred Molina was considered for the role of Summers, the head of Harvard. Eventually went to Douglas Urbanski, who is a great underrated performer in this film. I gotta say, that one scene he has in this where he just doesn't.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
figure it out. Stop being babies.
Go make another idea.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's one scene. I feel like
cameo with Alfred Molina, but still, I think that it worked out well. Let's go to the Mahershala Ali Award for Best Sharpshooter. So the guy who's not in the only in the movie for a couple scenes, but leaves a huge impact when they're in there. Someone who comes off the bench, hits 5 threes in 10 minutes, and then gets out of there. This is for his role in Moonlight. I'm gonna start here. I think this goes to Rooney Mara. She's in the first scene, and she's in that one scene at the table.
Yeah, that was my pick, dude.
There's that one moment too, though, that gets overlooked, which is where she's at
the restaurant.
Well, not even that. It's the one in her dorm where
the guy's making fun of her frost eyes, and she's just like,
oh my god,
yes, dude. Every time I see that scene, man, I'm like, oh my god, bro. Again, bro. There's so many moments in this film, man, where you just want to punch Mark, or you feel bad for the character, you want to fist pump. It's just. Fucking love this movie, but yeah, dude, for me it was her. It was her because every time that I think cast of this, Rooney Mara is one of the first that I think about, besides your obvious three, which is for me Timberlake and even Armie Hammer. But every time I think, I'm like, damn, she's so good in this film. The first 10 minutes alone, and that scene where she's just like, you think I forgot what the hell you said? Now that you've made this, So, and I don't think she knew about Facebook back then, right? She didn't know about it.
I think she had a page.
Did she? No, because remember, that's when he wants it. When he's like, oh, we got to get BU Stanford, like I'm all right, because it wasn't there yet. Yeah. She ends up getting the page, but I don't think she goes, oh, good luck with your date website or whatever the hell it was,
All right.
But I think she absolutely steals this cameo wise. Like, she steals the show. She gets in there, does her shit, and she's out. And look at us. We're talking about her. So, and I don't know, RB3, if you have anybody else.
Just shout out to Brenda Song too. She's probably another one. Again, my favorite scene is the fire scene. I mean, to me, every time she's in it, she just makes me laugh. And I literally used to watch Brenda Song on like Wendy Wu, like all these Disney Channel shows. You know what I mean? Like, and seeing her like as in like this adult-ish kind of character is really funny. So
it's weird because I remember her from Zack and Cody too. And then you see her like going down on Andrew Garfield and like, whoa, that's not, what's her name? London Tipton? Like, that's not her.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I
know who Zack and Cody is because my little brother used to watch that shit, but I don't remember. I never sat down and watched it. So
you missed the magic of Mr. Mosby. RB3 knows what I'm talking about. All right. Yeah, I went Rooney Mara too. Like I said before, Rooney Mara, she easily steals the couple scenes she's in. Let's move on to the Bill Murray Award for Best Cameo. There's a lot of small cameos in this. And Jader, let's start with you on this one, man. I think there's an easy one in here, but let's hear what you say.
Cameo.
Are you want to pass? You want to pass?
I mean, I was thinking about, like, I saw Eric Zorkin was that's the one, right?
Yeah, that's why I was going to shout out Aaron Sorkin with his little pop-up cameo there playing. Yeah. I think it was like one of the business executives or something like that. I thought that was really, really a really fun cameo. I'm trying to think if there's any other cameos that like necessarily stood out to me. I don't know if it's not necessarily a cameo, but they did give Natalie Portman a shout out too in this movie. So even though she wasn't in it, I'll throw that as a cameo. Why not?
I love that scene with Aaron Sorkin where Eisenberg's just in there making the clicking noise, and he's like, "What's that noise?" It's like a clicking. One more. I thought Bill Gates was in this movie for a second, and that scene where I
thought it was Bill Gates too.
I rewound it just to look it up, and no, it's a Bill Gates impersonator. But for you to have a cameo where you're going to make people rewind to just double check to make sure it was Bill Gates, I think you deserve some recognition right there.
I love the scene right after that as well when he's like, I think he was looking at you when he mentioned the next Bill Gates, and he goes, I don't even know who was giving the presentation. He's like, it was Bill Gates. Fantastic, man.
Dakota Johnson technically is a cameo too.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of cameos in this. You have Dakota Johnson. You have the dean, not the dean, the president, right, of
Harvard.
Of Harvard. You have Sorkin. Dude, I blew my girl's mind when I told her that Joseph Mazzello was Timmy from Jurassic Park. And she's like, no, it's not. So I'm like, yeah, it's Timmy. And then she goes, no way. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, and she goes, he's like him from the Queen movie. I'm like, yeah, it's the same guy. But I thought he was pretty good in that too.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. The Gary Oldman Everyone Award for overacting. There's a couple we can go in here. I like the shout out Mark Zuckerberg's roommates. I think these guys are hilarious. Every time they're talking, like when they're sitting in the house in California and Eduardo's knocking on the door, and the guy, isn't there someone knocking on the door over there? And he goes, no, you're locked in. All right, and it just gets right back to it. I think he's funny. I go Brenda Song here. for that scene that you say RB3. It's not. This isn't like we say every week. This is not an insult award because overacting works for these awards that we give out. I think Brenda's song in that scene where she's saying, how come your status of your relationship status says single on Facebook? It hasn't been changed. I think she's super psychotic in that moment right there and plays it so well, which is what you need to turn it up to be overacting. So I go Brenda's song for this award. Let's go RB3. What do you got here?
I could definitely see the Brenda song argument in there for sure. It's tough because, like Jader said, this movie's so perfectly cast, so it's tough to think of like what isn't necessarily like perfect. I guess like even though like it's definitely I don't know. Actually, I really don't know.
So I'm right there with RB3 to be completely honest with you. When I said that there was a hard category that I couldn't pick anything, I didn't really think anybody was overacting until right now, until Kyle pointed out that the guy was the door, and I'm like, I guess you're absolutely right on that. Yeah. But honestly, I felt like everybody was just so on point, at least with the main characters. Side characters, we get very, very little side characters in this. Right. Scenes here and there, but I overall think that everybody was just so tight in this film that this is the one category that as I'm like here thinking like who was the overactor, I couldn't, because even Brenda's song, like I thought she played what she was. We got the little tease beforehand when he shows up to LA in the rain and Mark Zuckerberg didn't pick him up, and he goes, "Oh, how's the girlfriend?" And notice how Zuckerberg just wants a girlfriend, because he kept asking. He keeps thinking about Erica. When him and Sean Parker are having that conversation, he's talking about, oh, do you still think about that girl? And then even then, when this guy's all distraught, he's super wet, and he's like, "Hey, how's that internship?" He's like, "I told you I quit, and this and that and that." He goes, "Oh, are you still with this girl?" And then he's like, "Yeah, sort of. I don't know. She's crazy." And he goes, "At least you have a girlfriend." Like, there's little lines there. You're just like, holy shit, bro. This guy probably just wants to get laid, man. Needs a good lay. But for me, it was hard. This was the one category for me where I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's very, very tight. Again, I'm not really looking at the, again, the guy in one scene. Every time I think about this, I try to think about the main cast, but I feel the main cast is just so tight that it's very hard. So I didn't have an answer for this one. This was the one category that I told you, I'm like, this is hard.
Can we give overacting to an inanimate object, meaning that Caribbean party that they're having? I noticed this line this time, which was he's like, "Can I speak to you outside?" And he goes, "It's like 20 degrees outside. Can we do it?" He's like, "There's a picture of Niagara Falls behind there, which has nothing to do with it. I can't stare at it any longer."
I do want to. So actually, I do have one. Shout out to the overacting by the CGI. That was the frost coming out of their mouth. That's probably the one tiny technical aspect. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look so good in 2020. That CGI.
I didn't even know that was CGI. That's crazy to me. Something else I noticed about Zuckerberg, his wardrobe. He's constantly in sandals. In the board meeting,
even in the board meeting, you see that shot with his feet just like in the sandals, which is how I'm sitting right now. Funny enough.
When he gets the idea for the relationship status part of Facebook, when his buddy's like, "Hey, have you heard from this girl? She's single." And he's like, "People don't walk around with a sign on that says," and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he kind of gets out there and runs away. He goes trudging through the snow with
flip-flops. Yeah, I noticed that too. This watch, actually, I know. I'm like, this guy's always in flip-flops. And it's crazy because the guys that are mostly loaded, which he wasn't at the time, like usually carry that, if they dress like that, that's how they dress and that's how they're comfortable, and it is what it is. I have a friend of mine, shout out to my boy Dustin, where man makes money, man. And he tells me for my birthday every time, he's like, "Hey, do I have to wear pants or do I have to wear shoes?" And I'm like, "Probably." And he goes, "And I'm probably not going to make it. I'll probably hit you up tomorrow and we'll go grab a beer." But it's crazy how it's just the way they dress, man. They feel comfortable in flip-flops, and it is what it is. And I feel like, that's that, man.
I got a couple interesting details here. One RB3 just shouted out. I'll start with that. The scene where keep forgetting this guy's name, but he says biggest thing on Zuckerberg was the biggest thing on campus that included 19 Nobel laureates, 15 Pulitzer Prize winners, 2 future Olympians, and a movie star. And the guy goes, "Who's the movie star?" RB3 said it was Natalie Portman, which is really cool because she was already becoming a big actress leading up to or at that point. She was in Star Wars already. She was in The Professional, all these things, and then she decided to go to Harvard and get a degree. Really, really special right there. Zuckerberg himself claimed that he was never going to see the movie, but eventually did with a bunch of coworkers, and claimed that despite inaccuracies, they got the clothing right, which we were just talking about right there. So that makes sense. The sandals, the flip flops. I call BS on that. I don't know about you guys. I feel like this movie probably was very accurate to how Zuckerberg was ruthless to getting to where he's at the top. But who knows?
One of the things that I did read is the inaccuracy in this. I didn't read the article, but I kept seeing, like, when I typed in social network how inaccurate but I don't know who was saying that. I didn't know it was Zuckerberg. I feel like shit I don't know again, but I feel like it could have gone down the way that it did. It probably I don't know if he greenlit the film or he was involved in the film at all with Sorkin and Fincher. But I thought he was, because of the final line in the film where they're like, we have to redeem him somehow. We can't make him look like the ultimate asshole. That's why I always thought that he probably put his 2 cents in it. And it happens. Again, Straight Outta Compton, I absolutely love that film. But they left a lot of Dr. Dre stuff out there, for the better of Dr. Dre. To be, you're calling spade a spade. It is what it is, man. He had a very bad history with women, and even when Ice Cube and when the beef was going out with No Vaseline and all that, I feel that when Eazy-E responded with Real Motherfucking G's, there was no scene of that, so there's always, and Eazy-E's not around, you get me? So there's always going to be whoever's involved. So I felt like Zuckerberg was involved because of the ending, you get me? Like where they gave him that, where I was just like, all right, I feel like they had to say that because this guy's not going to greenlight a film and be like, hey, you know what? I don't want this shit out if you're going to make me look like a piece of shit. Yeah. So that's just my 2 cents. So
I got one more in here that is Fincher's got a favorite line in this movie, which is one that none of us ever shouted out at all. And it was when the lawyer for Eduardo was, so you took the $1,000 and then you had the $18,000. That gives us a total of $19,000. And it's Eisenberg's line saying, let me check your math on that. He writes down, yes, I got
that too. Yeah.
you
love that.
You bitch. Like, what you got to do? All right. I don't have any Schmodown questions for you guys. I didn't get a chance to write them out at all. So sorry about that tonight. No question.
Oh no, that would have been a surprise for him. I didn't tell him because I honestly forget every week that we do this. By the way, but yeah, he writes down 3 questions and he'll ask us Schmodown style and all that. I didn't even bring my board downstairs. My brain's been everywhere this week. So thank God.
I got one right off the top right here. What is Rooney Mara's character's name?
Erica.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Do you want the first or last name?
You guys know the last name?
I don't know the last name.
It's Albright.
Yes, Erica Albright.
Wow. See, now that's why you're winning matches, and I'm 0-3. RBO 3.
I got another one right here. What scandal does Mark plant in the paper to go against Eduardo? What kind
chicken?
Of
Yes, chicken feeding.
Yeah, feeding. Yeah,
the cannibalism,
self cannibalism. Yeah.
That's a fun
forced cannibalism.
And he's trying to justify. He's like, fish eat fish all the time.
I love that shit, bro. I love that shit. That's so good, dude.
All right, let's move on to the big category then. Apex Mountain. There's so many you can go with here. RB3, let's start with you, man, because I know you were thinking about this one a little bit too before we started.
Yeah.
How many people do you think qualify for Apex Mountain?
I mean, you talk about the entire cast, the entire, behind the scenes crew. I think this is a lot of people's apexes. I mean, I think this is like, because you can make an argument for Jesse Eisenberg in terms of, him he was in Zombieland right before this, but he didn't really have like a big star turn until this movie. Talk about Andrew Garfield, who became Spider-Man. You could talk about Rooney Mara, who became the girl with the dragon tattoo. So many things you could go with. It's really tough.
You can talk Fincher, you can talk Sorkin, dude. It's nuts, man.
Ross and Reznor and Ross are also in there.
Even Armie Hammer. You could put Armie Hammer in there too.
We haven't really talked about Armie Hammer too much.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that we haven't, and he was fantastic in this.
I think
it's actually probably my favorite role that he's ever been in.
I think this is an apex, and you can make an argument for Call Me by Your Name, and I wouldn't fight you on that. Just to play two characters and be CGI both times, and most people probably didn't even notice that was CGI. Just thought it was two Armie Hammers when they were first watching this film. I think that's pretty significant, and he's super tough and intimidating. Like you could see that they're also like there's these tough jocks, but they're also daddy's boys. Like, oh, we'll just call Dad. We'll have him fix it. And that's the other question I had for you guys. A Schmodown question. What justification does the one Winklevoss twin give for not suing Zuckerberg?
They're Harvard men. They're
gentlemen of Harvard.
Gentlemen of Harvard, yeah.
Yep. So I think Armie Hammer is really good in this film. I would go him. Like I said, Eisenberg definitely, because I don't think there's been a role as significant as this. We can talk Oscars real quick. This was such a huge snub. Seeing like for Colin Firth winning for The King's Speech, he's fantastic in that film, by the way. He's not better than Eisenberg.
He's not better than this, man. Not at all.
And then The Social Network famously lost to The King's Speech, which King's Speech is a good movie too. But this is one of the biggest upsets we've ever seen in Oscar history. I see like people like Shakespeare in Love, but clearly it should have gone to Saving Private Ryan.
I'm still pissed off about that till this day. I'm like, how many times have you guys seen Shakespeare in Love? Honestly, probably once.
Yeah.
And how many times have you seen Saving Private Ryan? Come on, man, get the hell out of here. I mean, Sorkin won for screenplay, which I'm really, really happy he did, because I feel like honestly, I don't want to say who he won the film, but he's one of my
contenders.
He's one of my contenders for winning the film. I'm cheating for the who won the film, by the way, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, yeah. For me, it's tough narrowing it down to 1, 2. I'd probably end up landing on. I'd honestly probably end up landing on Sorkin, because I feel like this movie is so quintessentially him. Like it's almost inescapable. Even so much so that like, they were almost willing to take this exact same formula and do it again for the Steve Jobs movie originally. Like originally it was supposed to be Christian Bale as Steve Jobs, and then David Fincher, director, and then Aaron Sorkin's script. Like it was supposed to be the exact same formula, and then they switched up a little bit. Big Mo, shout out to Big Mo in the house. But see, it was so successful because it worked so well because of Sorkin from the page all the way up until the final production. And of course, it's like the ultimate visual director with Fincher versus the ultimate dialogue writer. With Sorkin putting those two worlds together is like a match made in heaven. I would only say maybe not Fincher, only because he also has 7 in his filmography, and that's just a little tough to outweigh.
See, that's where I'm at with Fincher. That's why I don't put him there, because 7 and Fight Club for me are up. And I'm not saying this is not a contender to go against these other 2 films,
of course,
at all, because it is definitely a contender. But it's hard, man. It's hard, like I said. And every time I see this movie, I just like it more. I don't even think I can possibly like it more every time after I see it. And I do. Every single time I'm like, man, this is creeping up. It's slowly creeping up into my top 10, which it wasn't my top 10. And it's just slowly creeping there after rewatching and rewatching. It's nuts, man.
Since we're on the topic, I'd say this is Fincher's apex. I'm going to go with this because I think this is the film that really solidified him as one of the best directors working right now. He had the cult buzz with 7 and with Fight Club and with
Alien 3.
No, okay.
Yeah, I like Alien 3.
Yeah, Fincher doesn't even like Alien 3. Come on. but Benjamin Button kind of got him on the map with Oscars, and then this film solidified him. Like, people were calling this an upset immediately once it happened. This is what. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm like, this is the film that showed that he's not just a stylistic good director. I mean, Zodiac too. Zodiac showed how stylish and how great he can be too.
That's why his filmography is out of hand.
Super impressive. Yeah, I mean, even his latest in Gone Girl was amazing. I loved Gone Girl a lot.
I love Gone Girl. No, but for me, this is the thing with Fincher. For me, I feel like this put him on the map with your average moviegoers.
Yes,
because everybody went to go see this film because it was about Facebook and everybody was using Facebook at the time. And they're like, who the hell directed? I remember people saw this before they saw Seven and Fight Club and Benjamin Button and all these other movies where they're like, dude, this guy's awesome. I'm like, yeah, he's one of my favorite directors. He's amazing, but I feel like this that could be absolutely it can definitely be argued. This, I feel like Fincher got put on the map with this film with your mass audiences. You got me?
Yeah. So. One more too I want to talk about. We take the music out of it. Is this Timberlake's apex for acting? I'm a huge Friends with Benefits fan. I that's a guilty pleasure in mine. I like everything.
Fine, but you're gonna tell me that his performance was better in
RB, you like Friends with Benefits, right?
I do like Friends with Benefits. I don't know if that's his better performance, but I do like that movie. I mean, what else has JT done though? I mean, that's the question. I mean, are we talking Runner with Ben Affleck?
Runner. He did. What else did he do? Runner. He did Bad Teachers, Trolls.
Oh, I like Bad Teacher. I love Trolls.
Alpha Dog. Yeah. So
he got some. He got a couple.
Yeah. He's got some in there, but I feel like probably acting. Yeah, this is probably his best performance by far. Yeah. And for Fincher to give a musician that big of a role and he knocks it out of the park, that's huge. That's massive.
A musician to play the role of the creator of Napster, most genius decision like ever.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that right there. That's 2 straight weeks we've had something kind of like just brought up to me that I didn't even consider at all. I didn't think about that.
No, I actually thought about it when we were watching the movie. I'm like, it's crazy how I don't know. I was actually gonna try to Google if Justin Timberlake was ever pissed off or was in a lawsuit with Sean Parker, because I was watching it. And I'm like, NSYNC was blowing up when this shit was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Ferris just brought up In Time. I think it was called.
In Time. It's In Time. Yeah, Out of Time with Denzel Washington.
Yeah, In Time. That's not a very good movie. That's an interesting concept. Steve has a interesting detail that I didn't even know, that Mark uses the alias Tyler Durden, which was a reference to Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club, which, we knew that he directed. When does he use that alias, though? I'm not sure.
No, I don't know.
All right, last category here. Who won the movie? Only one person can win this. Finchy?
No, I said, do you want me to cheat?
Oh, I thought you said Finchy. I'm like, well, okay.
I would never call him that, ever. I have respect. We did. The audience.
Yeah. Hey.
Straight up, man. Honestly, Fincher, dude, you can put anybody up there, but at the end of everything, this is a fucking masterpiece. And I feel like, again, you cannot be a movie if you're not a movie fan. If you have no idea, my grandma knows what Facebook is, and I guarantee you, I put this movie with Spanish subtitles, she's gonna watch this film because she's gonna be like, it's just so compelling. And again, with the Spanish dubs, it won't be the same, but the acting in it, man, it's just, and again, the dialogue, man, the dialogue is what, and that's one of my fucking winners for this was Fincher. I mean, I'm Fincher, Sorkin. As who won the film, but at the end of everything, it has to be us, bro. And that's the cheating answer. I'm sorry, but if I can't cheat, then it's Sorkin for me.
Who do you got, RB3?
Who wins this? Well, I definitely say I'm gonna go with Jesse Eisenberg wins this, because I think him the most. I think he's still playing Mark Zuckerberg like to this day. He even took that and put it into the DCEU with Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? Like, he's still playing the same part, kind of, which is not necessarily him playing the same part, but we so recognize him as Mark Zuckerberg just because of this movie. I think that's the ultimate takeaway. I mean, Andrew Garfield, I'd also consider a winner too. Actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna switch my ass. I'm gonna switch.
You
I'm
gonna
gonna
do
switch
Garfield?
to Andrew Garfield because he did become Spider-Man. So that's the ultimate level up of all time. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I also was gonna say. Like Garfield went from this, and then he landed Spider-Man. Not right after. I think it was like what, 3 years after, 2 years after.
Yeah,
And he, you know, if you could play the biggest superhero in the world, it was obviously because you got some sort of recognition right before that, you know? So
right.
The reason why I didn't mention Garfield when we were doing Apex is because I feel like Hacksaw Ridge is his best performance he's had so far. That's just a brutal film, where just especially all that second hour of him running through the battlefield, saving all those.
I love how that movie makes you forget that you're watching a war film, and then right when you get to the war, you're like, "Oh shit!" Because I remember that first half of the film, I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, this movie is so again, I'm going to use the word again, compelling. It's just a great story." And then all of a sudden, you just start seeing bullets fly in people's faces, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot we're watching a war film." Like, but I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Fincher because I feel like Fincher. This is the movie I think of when I think of David Fincher. I guess it might depend on when you grew up because if you grew up in the 90s, you love your Sevens, you love your Fight Clubs.
Seven is my first film, man. Every time, first film. Every time. Huh?
It is for a lot of people, and I remember when we were doing people did best of the decades for the first year of the 2000s or the first decade of 2000s. Zodiac was up there for a lot of people. People really love Zodiac, and some of them consider that to be his best. I truly feel like this is a perfect film, The Social Network, and it's because of his it's because of all the pieces fell into place. I almost went with Reznor and Ross, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, because that score is one of the best. It's their first time scoring a film, and they win an Oscar for it, which is incredible. I mean, it just happened with Joker, but
reason why I can't give it a Reznor for me is because again, I'm a metalhead, and I feel like Nine Inch Nails is probably the greatest thing he's ever done. But I can see how you like that, but for me, again, growing up in the 90s, it goes with Seven and it goes back. And it's crazy because Fincher, again, uses Closer as the opening title for Seven, and that's a Nine Inch Nails song that resonates. So there you go.
So I go Fincher won the movie because I feel like this solidified him as one of the best working today, one of the guys that we look forward to. He's in the same conversation as your Tarantinos, as your Scorsese and Spielberg. When he's putting a film out, people are already saying, well, it's going to be up for an Oscar. The same Nolan too, Denis Villeneuve, they're all in that same conversation with each other. This is the one that made people say, I don't care what he's putting out, I have to see it. So this is why I go with David Fincher. And that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Great discussion here.
I got a little quick question from Ferris saying it's my favorite film. It's up there, man. It depends on the day you ask me. It's in my top 10, but I don't know where it falls. But yeah, sorry, man. Sorry.
No. But thank you everybody for joining us and watching along today. I'm so glad we got this episode finally done because I love this. We've been trying. It has to happen, and no better person to have on here than RB3. RB3, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a long time coming, bro. Thank you.
Thank y'all for being so accommodating, man. I know we did a lot of shifts and like all this and that, but we made it work, and I'm happy to be here. And thank you so much, Jader and Kyle. And again, sorry about the Jasper thing. Really didn't mean it. But yeah, you know, homie, brother.
It's all good, man. Yeah, no, it's only 20 minutes till 1 a.m. here, and I got to work in the morning, but it's all good, bro.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
Nah, bro, you're the man, bro. Thank you so much.
Man, you got your first cut. Tell us about that.
Yeah, First Cut YouTube channel. We just did our live stream this week right before this stream, so it was really fun. Be sure to check that out. And then we have more reviews, more stuff coming up. We have a big interview coming up this weekend, and actually we have we did a podcast on William Bibiani's network, Critically Acclaimed, where we are talking about My Dinner with Andre. All of us, me, Andres, and Sabrina, talking about My Dinner with Andre on William Bibiani's podcast, Critically Acclaimed. So be sure to check that out.
That's amazing, man. He was on the show 2 weeks ago, man. We
Talking Psycho, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, saw that.
Very great guy. I love having him.
Yeah, Bibbs was amazing, man. I big match for him this week. I'm excited to see Bibbs back on, bro. It's been a while. We've had, it's crazy, man. We barely talked Schmodown, to be honest with you, but we have some major matches coming.
Yeah.
We already have 2 already done, and we have another one coming tomorrow and another one the next day. So four a week, dude. This is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Super,
Yeah,
super
I can
crazy.
only imagine you running around like a chicken with your head cut off if you were in studio, dude.
Yeah. That's why you see me in studio. That's why I do. But I'm actually at home with my head cut off, like, at home, because I'm editing. I'm helping edit matches, and then also engineering SCN and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot going.
They're keeping you busy, man. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, RB3. Jader, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
No, man, we're good to go. RB3, you're more than welcome whenever you want to come back, bro. You were an awesome guest. So whenever you want to talk anything, you're like, hey, bro, you guys haven't talked this fucking movie. Let's dig in there. Let's do it, man. We'll dig into anything.
Appreciate it.
Man. No, we're good, man. It's late.
It's late. Thank you everyone for joining. And we will see you next time on the next episode of the Jader and Kyle Show.